Guys, if I can have your attention, I really don't enjoy talking into a microphone. I have gotten chastised by my staff over here. I was going to do it from the front of the auditorium. When we built the building, Mr. Sharp and I did a test. I stood on the auditorium stage, and he went up into the balcony there, and the acoustics in here are very good. And I don't enjoy hearing myself talk a whole lot, and he knows that. We do want to welcome you, though, to our inaugural Athletic Hall of Fame class. This is something that's exciting for me, but I want to give credit where credit's due, and I've already done this a couple times with the class. But John Sharp, who's our principal here for 10 years, put an awful lot of time into this. Obviously, there was a committee that was involved, but John's the reason that this happened today. It's not me. I'm just the welcome guy. So if y'all could help me give John a round of applause. So many moons ago, but when my kids were younger, Coach Reed, John, myself, one of the custodians, and one of our guys that worked in the maintenance department rode to a lot of games together. And I know there's a lot of you in here that have no idea who I am, but we've heard the stories over the years from Coach Reed, and not just once, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times. And that was, John and I laugh about this, it was a good time. It was kind of our relief, but there's a lot of not only athletic prowess, but you had a lot of, and one thing, don't take for granted, and you just had a lot of support and coaches that were here for a long time. There was a lot of consistency, whether good, bad, ugly, whatever, and that doesn't happen everywhere. And I'm looking at Coach James over here, looking at me, and you know, for Coach Reed even to be here 50 years coaching girls basketball blows my mind. And you all have your own opinions of athletics and support and help and all those things, but it's kind of special for somebody that didn't grow up here. I call Vidalia home. I've been living here 20 years, but I didn't live through some of the times that John did. But we'd like to welcome all of you to our inaugural athletic awards, or Athletic Hall of Fame awards, excuse me. And if you get a chance, thank John. He's the one that has done the lion's share of the work here. And at that point, John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilcox. All the thank you I needed was seeing that group of pictures of our honorees right out here. And once you get that published, you'll want to get that picture. That was the people we will honor tonight are people that I grew up hearing the legends about. And then there are those that became my heroes as I watched play. Others I was fortunate enough to play with and see their exploits on the field and on the court. And then I was fortunate enough to get to come back to see some of their expertise and coached a few, or even were either coached by most of the, or all of the guys. Somebody said, "How were you coached by Coach Reed?" I said, "Well, I used to didn't, because I lived out in the country, couldn't go home when we practiced second, and I stayed around, and when Coach Reed did an extra, he asked me to come in and scrimmage, and I had some great games against the girls' basketball team." Unfortunately, nobody saw those, but we had a lot of fun, and but it was, I cherish all the memories, and Vidalia High School and Vidalia community means so much to me. One thing about it, there's no way that any one individual could do this. There are so many people that I've got to thank, and I want to go ahead and throw some of those names on there. Well, let's go to the next one, Stephen, and then we'll come back. This is just some of the many people that we've got to thank. Stephen Arnold, who is running our sound and lighting, and this is going to be a little bit different because John Kuhn, who has a great voice in radio, does all of Vidalia High School athletics, had knee surgery and couldn't be here, but we wanted to have his voice. And he agreed to read the script, and we're going to try that. But Stephen is running that. Anna Helms put this PowerPoint for us together and did a wonderful job. I just sent her the information, and she made it look really good. John Kuhn, whose voice you will hear. We've got Carol Williams, who will take the pictures. I can't see over these balloons. Miss Amanda Mosley, Family and Consumer Science teacher here at Vidalia High School, did all the refreshments for you while you were here. Jackson Sharp is streaming the audio video, he and his audio video class. So if you would like to send a text message to somebody, they can go to vidaliaathletics.com and click on a link and watch it live. But it's also there if you want to go back and see after you finish and you just want to find out what you look like. Is you walk up the stairs or what you said, and the odds are around here that I'll be the one that'll trip off the stage, because I have been known to do that. Ann Michelle Toole was hostess and did all the little signs out by your row and did our program for us. And then Ms. Lawrence Johnson did the meal for us. Missy Owens is dance line. She was the one who was a hostess who helped point you around. And then the banks, Vidalia Federal Savings, People's Bank, Mount Vernon Bank, Georgia First Bank, and Omaha Bank donated money to help us get the awards. And Herff Jones did the awards for us. And then also TQ Construction, Tony Wright, paid for the meal for all of us. So if you will, join me in giving all of these folks a round of applause. I get asked this a lot. Why? Why do we want to do a Hall of Fame? Well, one of the things we want to recognize outstanding high school athletes and achievement at Vidalia High School. We want to be able to historically record school records, accomplishments, and individual achievements. For so long, we depended on those three gentlemen that have been mentioned earlier, because in my 9-year tenure as principal at Vidalia High School, we lost Coach Cravey, Coach Parsons, and Coach Reed all during that time, and we lost that legacy. It would have been much easier to do the Hall of Fame had they been here, because they would have been able to spit off the names and results and the stats all the way back from the 1950s and on. But we want to be able to record the accomplishments. One of the things we want to do is help promote a sense of pride in our school and community. I've told them earlier, I'm not bashful. I stole this idea at Beaufort High School, but when I was principal, we wanted to be excellent in the academics, the arts, and in athletics. And that's what we wanted to do in everything we do. We wanted to shine. So also, I know, and these athletes will attest to, athletics is more than just sports and a game and a scoreboard. The things that you learn as an athlete help you succeed in life. I know most of them will attest to the discipline, the hard work, the character, the ability to work with others, the ability to build positive relationships and overcome obstacles are all things that help them be successful in life. So that's one of the things that we want to do. So what we're doing is we had to get started. We didn't know how, but we knew we had to. And there were some barriers. One, how do we find records? We don't know. There are a lot of records that we cannot get. We know from probably 1980 on, you can go in the internet and find pretty much anything. But back before then, how do we do that? One of our real concerns was, how do we recognize J.D. Dickerson Training Center? There were even less records of their achievements, so we hope that getting started, we will be able to stir up some interest in people that come tell stories, but part of that is you've got to validate all of our stories. I know myself, I'm a lot better now than I was when I was in school, so I think the older you get, the better you are, so that's going to happen with everybody, but we want to vet all of that entire process. So we had to elect a committee. The Hall of Fame, our goal was to elect the initial class. We wanted to get the best of the best, because honestly, we threw out probably 50 names, and there's some of you in this room that will be in the Hall of Fame, Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame, but we could not get everybody in one class. We didn't want it to be a 4-hour ceremony. So we set the goal at 20. And as we began that process, we threw out a lot of names, and when we got to where we are now, everybody agreed, this is it. this is where we need to go. Not that nobody else, there are a lot of other names that we will add in years to come, but this will be a great starting point and make the initial class. We will start the classes every year. Next year, we started the first class would be no more than 20. Next year will be no more than 15. Next year will be no more than 10, and then we will start at least one, no more than 5 every year. There are going to be some other things that you'll like to know. Their criteria is your contributions as an athlete at Vidalia High School, your college and professional ranks, must be a good ambassador for Vidalia High School. We did want to include 20 years after graduation. Somebody asked me why that. I said because when you graduate at 18 and you get 38, you have no idea how young you are. You are young, and you get a lot of chance to finish your resume. Some of our people on this committee had things even in their late 30s, so you get a chance to do their resume. So we will do this, and then in next year, it will not just be the committee. It will be all Hall of Fame committee or Hall of Fame electees will be voting members. Because who better to tell what a Hall of Fame member should be than the actual Hall of Fame class. But I do want to thank some folks out here, and I'm going to step out. I'm afraid I'm going to miss them. But the Hall of Fame folks, I, as principal, was kind of chaired it, headed it up. Tommy Daly is our athletic director. Bruce Mulkey, and I want to say Mr. Mulkey is the committee principal. I'm glad he's here. My year's been a lot smoother this year. It's not a principal role, but I can't say the same from him because that's a high-profile, high-stress job. But he will be a member moving forward. He did want me to point out that he didn't have anything to do with elections. So people are mad. It's all those folks right here. John Connor, and you can look as we build. These are people that have been around athletics and knew Vidalia High School and been here. I remember John and my stories of James Brantley used to be about Ralph Connor writing about him even in the 1980s. I used to say, maybe one day Ralph Connor will write about what we did at Clemson. So it's great that he did a wonderful story just showing the history of Vidalia High School. But John knows that. Carol Hansley, who was a graduate of Vidalia High School and Citizen of the Year, had a great voice and helped us bring stability. Phyllis James Pierce has been around athletics all her life. Wilson Johnson, who was a graduate, and I do want to clarify, he was actually Dickerson Training Center because it was not, but we claimed everybody there as part of Vidalia now, but he had a lot of insight. Tommy Sasser, who was retired Recreation Department Director. Eddie Lee Singleton, who is actually officiating ball. He's been officiating athletics forever and has a good insight on that. And then Scott Strickland, who is Recreation Director. If those members, if you will, please stand unless if you're here and let's acknowledge them. And thank you very much for their work. Moving forward, you will be able to nominate individuals through a form on our athletic website. We'll give you, all you do is click on, you can send in the name, the athletic accomplishment, and the next class will be selected the summer of 2023 for induction in the fall of 2022. And we hope to take what happens tonight and build on it and to make next year even more special. But it'd be tough to top this. This has been pretty incredible. The procedures for tonight, when I sit down, Coach Daly is going to come up, and then after he sits down, then we're going to be able to start going through the slideshow. There will be John's voice. We will go through by athlete. There will be a welcome to the Hall of Fame, and if the athletes will come up, receive the awards from us, come to the microphone. If you want to, you can say something. If you don't, you don't have to. But after you go, if you'll go out there and see Mr. Carroll Williams, who wants to get a picture of you. So again, I want to thank you. It has been an honor. Right now, I'd like to introduce Vidalia High School Athletic Director, Tommy Daly. He had the incredible job of having to replace a legend in Coach Reed, but has done a great job. And is also the best boys basketball coach, at least in the state, if not in America. So Coach Daly, he's going to share a little bit about the vision for a Hall of Fame.
If you'd have watched us play a few minutes ago, you wouldn't have thought I was a very good basketball coach. It's an honor for me to stand before you as the athletic director at Vidalia High School. What started off as Mr. Sharp and myself, and even back when Coach Reed was here, talking about the history and the things that were accomplished at Vidalia High School, was truly amazing, but it was just chatter. So we started talking about how do we preserve that? What's the thing we could do to honor the folks that became before us and what they accomplished? And you know, it started off just as a simple idea, and from there it just grew. And when you know Mr. Sharp took the lead on this, it's truly amazing. The man is like a walking encyclopedia of Vidalia athletics. He knows, some of you might think he was stalking you at one time. He knows your time from 1955 when you ran the 400, and I mean it is really incredible for what's up there churning. If we don't do you all justice, if we don't get that somehow on paper to where, you know, I've been here 17 years, and it doesn't seem like that. I know I look a lot younger than that, but 17 years here, and I've heard all these stories, but I don't have the recollection like he does of names and numbers. And, you know, Tyrone Jones scored 35 points against so-and-so. You know, it's just like he has all that wealth of knowledge. We sat in that committee when he and I started talking, and we wanted to put this dream of ours moving forward, and we started looking at committee members, and when we sat in that room and we started throwing out names, and it was stat after stat, and just for me to sit back and listen to those was truly amazing. The accomplishments of our inductees today. So, you know, that was phase one. What's phase one for us was to get this together, to get this group and commit to a Hall of Fame. Moving forward, so how do we keep that going? We will eventually have a digital display where we will house all this information, all right? Because Mr. Sharp's, he is getting a little bit older, so you know what happens then. We want to put this digitally out there. We want to house it on our website. We want to have kiosks up in the school building to where folks can come in. If I see if Doug Roper walks in our gym and he wants to see what's under Doug Roper's name, he can do that. He can punch Doug Roper's name, and everything that he did for our school will be listed there. That's the next phase, and then we want a place to house it. All right, we want what we will call our Vidalia Athletic Hall of Fame room somewhere. We want to build that. We want to continue to build the legacy of Vidalia athletics. So this is phase one. Phase two is going to happen. We're waiting on phase three and just trying to figure that out. But that's kind of where we're headed. This is just not one thing we're going to do. This is just not, we're going to have a ceremony and we're going to, you know, we want to put your plaque on the wall. We do that, but we want the kids and the athletes coming behind you to be able to go look at your accomplishments and what you did. And that's across the board for all of our athletics. So I'm super excited. I'm stoked to watch this this presentation right here. The things and the memories of some of these folks that I know, I'm excited to see their presentation and listen to the words they have to say. So I appreciate all of our committee's efforts and the backing of Mr. Sharp to get this thing off the ground. So we look forward to a great night and a great future for Vidalia athletics.
Good evening and welcome to the inaugural Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Over the next 45 minutes, you are going to hear stories about 17 athletes, coaches, and one team who greatly contributed to the success of the Vidalia High School athletic program. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to recognize this distinguished group of athletes, coaches, and team. The first induction tonight is for the 1969 Vidalia High School football team. The 1969 team began the season with high expectations. The year before, the Indians had won 8 games in a row before losing to Irwin County in the South Georgia Championship. Almost every starter returned, and expectations were high. It was after the 4th game of the season when the Indians knew just how special the team could be when they went up in class and on the road handedly defeated a strong Statesboro team 26-8. The Indians finished the season undefeated. In the region championship, the Indians scored 16 points in the final 2.5 minutes to defeat Southeast Bullock 22-19. In the next two rounds, they easily defeated Hawkinsville and Irwin County to advance to the state championship game. The Indians would defeat Lithonia 7-6 to earn the first and only football title up to this point. We are honored to select the 1969 state championship football team as the first team inducted into the VHS Athletic Hall of Fame. The team was recognized at the basketball game earlier today. Would those members who are in attendance please stand and be recognized? Ladies and gentlemen, the 1969 Vidalia High School State Championship football team. Our first individual inductee is James Brantley. James Brantley was a 1956 graduate of Vidalia High School. He is arguably the greatest overall athlete to graduate from Vidalia High School. A four-year letterman in football, basketball, and track, he is quoted as saying, "Basketball was something we played between seasons. We were good, but could have been better. We drove Coach Parsons crazy because basketball was his thing." In football, he led his teams to the quarterfinals his junior year, and he was recognized as first-team All-State. In his senior year, he led his team to the state championship, where they were defeated by Morgan County 21-12. Brantley again made first-team All-State. As great as his football accomplishments were, his track accomplishments were legendary. James was a four-year letter winner in track. He began to excel during his sophomore year of high school. At the time, Georgia had the traditional classification state track meet. The top two finishers in each event from all four classes would advance to compete in the all classifications meet. The top four finishers in the all classifications meet would advance to compete against the top four finishers from the state of Alabama. In his sophomore year at the Georgia Class B state meet, he placed second in the 120-yard hurdles and second in the high jump. In the all classifications meet, he placed fourth in the 120-yard hurdles and third in the high jump. And at the Georgia-Alabama meet of champions, he placed first in the high jump. During his junior year at the Georgia Class B state meet, he placed first in the 120 and 80-yard hurdles, ran on the first-place half-mile relay team, and placed second in the high jump to win the High Point Trophy and lead Vidalia to a second-place state finish. In the all classifications meet, he placed third in the 180-yard hurdles and second in the high jump. And at the Georgia-Alabama meet, he tied for first in the high jump. In his senior year at the Georgia Class B state meet, he placed first in the 120 and 180-yard hurdles, placed first in the high jump, and ran on the second-place half-mile relay team to win the High Point Trophy and lead Vidalia to a second-place finish at state. In the all classifications meet, he placed first in the 180-yard and 120-yard hurdles and first in the high jump to lead Vidalia to the all classification championship and the High Point Trophy. At the Georgia-Alabama meet, he placed first in the 180-yard hurdles, second in the 120 hurdles, and second in the high jump to win the High Point Trophy and lead Vidalia to a fourth-place finish. He set state and school records in all three events. His 180 record was never broken because years later the event was moved to 300 meters. His last was his VHS hurdles record, which fell to VHS senior Rudy Butler, who broke his record by .06 seconds to win the state AA title in 2006, 50 years after James set the record. James signed a scholarship at Georgia Tech, and he lettered in football and track. He won several high point awards at Georgia Tech and met qualifying times for the 1960 Olympic trials. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming James Brantley to the Vidalia High School inaugural Hall of Fame class. Our next inductee is Coach John Buck Cravey. You can't talk Vidalia football without talking about Coach Cravey. Coach Cravey coached football at Vidalia for 24 years. He coached the Indians from 1967 to 1972 and from 1975 to 1992. He is the all-time winningest football coach at Vidalia with a record of 194 wins and only 78 losses and 1 tie. In his time at Vidalia, his teams won 10 region championships and 1 state title. His teams had a winning record in 21 of his 24 years at Vidalia. His teams made the playoffs 16 times, and most of his seasons were played during a time when teams had to win the region championship to advance to the state playoffs. He coached 23 players who were recognized as All-State, 8 players who signed scholarships in Division I football, and 2 players who played in the NFL. Among his many awards included our 10-time GHSA Region Coach of the Year, 1-time GHSA State Coach of the Year, 2-time Coach of the GHSA All-Star Game. In June of 2016, he was inducted to the Georgia Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame, and in 2005, the Vidalia football field was named Buck Cravey Field. Greater than the wins and championships were the character, discipline, and work ethic he instilled in each one of his players and students. Vidalia will forever be grateful for how richly our community was blessed by the legacy of John Buck Cravey. Receiving Coach Cravey's award are his sons. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please help me welcome Coach John Buck Cravey into the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
All right, so I'm just going to take a second here. Number one, it's such an honor to be here, and I know Dad would be so proud. He wasn't big on a lot of recognition, but I can tell you this would have meant the world to him. So just thank you to the committee and everybody who supported him. But I wanted to, as I was sitting down here, I was thinking about, some of you probably wouldn't know the story, but John Sharp and I, when we left Vidalia, Georgia in 1981, we rolled up to Atlanta to go to Georgia Tech as freshmen together, and we were roommates. And I have to tell you, Coach Daly, that you mentioned his head always turning. We spent 3 months together, and I promise you he was planning out this night that entire first quarter at Georgia Tech. No kidding. Some people are, you know what you're meant to be and what you're meant to do. John Sharp was meant to come back here and contribute to this community and carry on the legacy of Vidalia High School. And I just want to thank John personally for all he's done, supporting not only Dad and our family, but this community. So John, thank you. Well done. Just wanted to embarrass him for a second there, but so I brought this picture of Dad that I keep in my desk at home, and it just reminds me of who he was. And every day, I'm so blessed to think about. I won the lottery. I got to grow up in this town. I got lottery with my parents, and everybody who knows me throughout my life knows I'm from Vidalia, Georgia. I'm just so proud of that. And it's the community, it's the people. And I can tell you, I said John was meant to come back here. Buck Cravey was meant to coach. That's what he did. That was the most important thing to him, was giving back. And I can just tell you, he's looking down right now, smiling. And I'm so proud to be here and accept this for him. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Paul Claxton. Paul was a 1986 graduate of Vidalia High School, where he played basketball and ran track in his early years of high school, but concentrated on golf his last 2 years. Paul was a vital part of Vidalia's historically great run in golf. He was a member of the state championship team in 1982, and in 1984 he shot a 75 to finish second individually and lead his team to the state title. In 1985, he shot a 75 and individually finished in the top 5, again leading his team to an honorable second-place finish in the state. Following the season, he signed a golf scholarship at the University of Georgia, where he continued to excel. At the University of Georgia, Paul was a 4-year letterman, and he was a second-team All-SEC selection in 1988. In 1990 and 1991, he was selected as first-team All-SEC. He was also selected All-American in 1990 and 1991. He played a full amateur schedule after graduating in 1991 and captured the 91 Georgia State Amateur title at Athens Country Club. His professional tournament wins included the 2001 Buy.com Louisiana Open and the 2007 Melwood Prince George County Open. He finished tied for 23rd in the 2005 U.S. Open at Pinehurst and qualified for the 2012 U.S. Open at the Olympic Club. Paul competed in at least one Web.com Tour event every year from 1994 to 2014, which included 42 top 10 finishes and more than $1,802,291 in career earnings, which is the second all-time high in the Web.com's earning list. He was a member of the PGA Tour in 1997, 2002, 2005, and 2008. He finished tied for third in the 2017 PGA Professional Championship and earned a berth on the 27 U.S. PGA Cup team. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the stage and welcome to the Vidalia High School Hall of Fame, Paul Claxton.
Well, those first two is a hard act to follow, but I'm going to try. I want to thank the committee for recognizing me and nominating me for this honor, and something I'll never forget. And I want to also recognize the coaches that I had here at Vidalia High School, Coach Cravey, Coach Reed, and Coach Parsons. They were great, and I was very fortunate to be here during their heyday. And I got paddled by Coach Cravey, so I've experienced all the good and the bad. And Coach Parsons was great. He was our golf coach and basketball coach, and it was just a great experience here. And not only did we have great coaches, I received a great education here that pretty much set me on a good track to be successful after high school. And I just want to thank the committee again for recognizing me, and this is something I'll never forget. Thank you.
Our next inductee for the night is Lynn Cromartie. Lynn was a 1982 graduate of Vidalia High School. She lettered 4 years in softball, 1 year in track, and 4 years in basketball, where she excelled as a 4-year starter. She made the All-Region team 3 years and was the MVP her junior and senior years. She thrived during her senior year, helping lead her team to Vidalia's first Final Four appearance. During her senior year, Lynn was named Region Player of the Year, made the South Georgia All-Star and the All-Middle Georgia All-Star teams. Lynn also eclipsed the school scoring record, scoring 1,530 points during her high school career. Lynn signed a scholarship with Bruton Parker, where she was a 2-year starter, finishing 7th in the conference in scoring and 3rd in steals. She then went on to Georgia Southern, where she led her 2 seasons with the Lady Eagles. Lynn spent several years as a basketball and softball coach at Brantley County and Heritage Christian Academy. She was Region Softball Coach of the Year 2 times, Region Basketball Coach of the Year 2 times, and named the Okefenokee Area Girls Basketball Coach of the Year. She also led the Heritage Christian Academy girls to their first state championship in school history. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming Lynn Cromartie Purser to the inaugural Vidalia High School Hall of Fame.
Well, I decided I better write this down or we would be here all night because I love Vidalia, I love basketball, and so I decided I better write this down. But anyway, I'm so excited, and I do want to thank the committee for this incredible honor. I'm humbled, and wow, congratulations to all the inductees. This is pretty good group. Thank you for letting me be in it with you guys. But athletics have been a driving force and one of the most positive influences in my life. But my experience was shaped by the coaches in my life and the life lessons that they taught me. And I want to take one of my 3 minutes to thank them for the life lessons they taught me. I do, want to thank Vidalia Recreation Department. That's a great feeder program, isn't it? I loved Vidalia Recreation Department, so thank you for the coaches there. But I wanted to just have a special shout out to Bill James for being the catalyst of me loving the game and thriving during competition, and for teaching me if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. That's a great life lesson, And man, I wish Coach Reed was here. I want to thank him for giving me a chance. As a freshman who he thought I'd break, he always told everybody when he put me on the floor. But thank him for giving me a chance, for seeing my heart, and for teaching me that when you think you can't take one more step, the good Lord made you where you can. That's another life lesson. I want to thank my family for being here tonight. I had more come out than I thought it was. I appreciate you guys so much. But for my husband, Clint, he sat through more basketball games and weekend softball tournaments than he would care to admit. He sat right behind me at every game of my coaching career. And I'll let you guys ask him about some of those days. He wouldn't let me tell stories. He said I'd be here all night. My sisters, Cynthia and Sia, I watched them and just wanted to be as good as they were. So I'm very thankful for you two. My daughter, Marty, and her family are here. The legacy of the Cromartie girls lives on through her. Marty and her husband love athletics, and it will carry on through their son. And I have the most wonderful extended family. Thank you guys for being here. And man, I do wish my mom and daddy were here, and my wonderful father-in-law. Mr. Purser is probably shouting, "Shoot it, Lynn," from heaven right now. Because you know what he taught me? You miss every shot you don't take. That's a life lesson. And I'll end with thanking my mom and daddy. They would have loved this better than me, for sure. I don't know, I'm loving it. But they were my first coaches. They sat up with me after every game and went through it play by play. They supported me like nobody else. And they taught me that the harder you play, the luckier you get. And man, I feel lucky tonight.
Tonight's next inductee is Coach Greg James. Coach James was a 1972 graduate of Vidalia High School. He lettered 3 years in baseball and was awarded a baseball scholarship to Bruton Parker College. After he graduated from college, he taught for 40 years in the Vidalia City School System from 1976 to 2016. He also worked with the Vidalia Recreation Department from 1972 to 1986 and coached senior and major boys teams from 1988 to 2015. At Vidalia, Coach James was an assistant basketball coach for 11 years and head boys coach for 1 year. He was a varsity football assistant for 5 years and coached middle school football for 16 years. But it was in baseball where he had his greatest success. He coached the varsity boys baseball team from 1987 to 2016, and his accomplishments include an outstanding record of 489 wins, 287 losses, and 2 ties. The 489 wins are the most baseball wins in school history. His teams also won 2 AA state championships, the first in 1995 and the second in 2003. His teams also participated in 4 state semifinals and 9 times in the Elite Eight. He won 6 sub-region championships and made 19 playoff appearances. He was the 1995 and 2003 Georgia Dugout Club AA Coach of the Year, a 9-time Region Coach of the Year, and the 1992 Macon Telegraph Coach of the Year. In 1994 and 1995, Coach James was named the Savannah Morning News Coach of the Year. In 1995, the GACA South All-Star Head Coach. And in 1998, he was the Southeast All-Star Assistant Coach. 2004 saw Coach James become the head coach of the Southeast All-Star team. And in 2005, he was Team Georgia's assistant coach. On March 17, 2007, the field at Vidalia High School was officially named Greg James Field. In 2008, Coach James was inducted into the Georgia Dugout Club Hall of Fame. And on September 30, 2016, Coach James was recognized and officially had his number retired. This spring, Coach James will be inducted into the GACA Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming legendary Vidalia High School baseball coach Greg James to the stage as we induct him into the VHS Athletic Hall of Fame.
Always have to lower microphones. Anyway. And I'll try to keep for 3 minutes, but I just want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for such a great honor. And just thank Coach Sharp for heading it up, but it truly, never know what it means to me. I want to congratulate the other inductees, all the players. I was fortunate. Recreation Park's been mentioned. I was fortunate to work there, coach there, and I probably saw just about every one of these athletes tonight personally from about 12 years all the way through their 12 years old to their high school career and everything, and it was a joy to watch. Now there are 2 that I didn't get to see. And that was Mr. James Brantley. But believe me, I heard Coach Parsons tell so many great stories. He just enjoyed talking about Mr. James Brantley. And so I feel like I know him and did get to see him. But congratulations, Mr. Brantley. Okay, heard a lot about you. And the other's Mr. Wally Moses. When I was a senior in high school, Dr. Bedingfield, we were practicing over at the old field by old Darby Gym, and Dr. Bedingfield pulled up, and there was a gentleman, got out of the Cadillac with him, and one of the players, we were taking bat practice, standing out there, and somebody said, well, who is that with Dr. Bedingfield? And I had known about Wally Moses, my dad, who was good friends with Mr. Harry, and anyway, I'd seen him. We'd watched the World Series in '68 when the Tigers played the Cardinals, and Mr. Wally Moses was coaching first base. And the minute he got out, and I told one of the players, I said, that looks like Mr. Wally Moses that coaches in the major leagues. And sure enough, Coach Merritt calls us up there and introduced us to him, and he watched us take BP. Everybody hit. And I'll never forget, after we got through hitting, I heard Mr. Moses tell Coach Merritt, he said, I hope you got some good pitching. Because I'm not sure the hitting. But he was just kidding. But that was a great honor to meet somebody that I'd, seen somebody on TV back then. But I do feel like, I know him personally too. But it was great just watching all these athletes, here at Vidalia High School and at the rec department. And as it said up there, I was very fortunate to coach football for 5 years, helped Coach Craven for 4, and then in '97 got to coach with Coach Watkins when Coach Calker was here. And I really enjoyed that. And then, of course, I spent 12 years coaching basketball. And what a thrill. The coaches I got to work under, Coach Fuller, Coach Forrest. And it was just, I really enjoyed that. And I just want to thank those players. I see a couple here tonight down here. I just want to thank them for what they did, and I want to thank the basketball coaches and other football coaches that I coach with. But now get to baseball. You know, it always starts with your players, and anytime you get an award like this, it's a reflection of what kind of players you have. And I had some mighty good ones, and over 30 years, there were a lot of different teams. Every team was different, but I'll always be so grateful to the players because they made my job so easy, and I'll always appreciate that. And I appreciate my assistant coaches. I can honestly say in 30 years, I feel like every assistant coach I had was very loyal to the program. No backstabbing. I think they always supported and did a great job for us. They were good men for our players to be around. To thank our bookkeepers. They don't get much credit, but our statisticians always did a great job. And then I just want to thank the administration, board of education, all the superintendents I work for, the principals, and the two best ADs you could have worked for, Coach Parsons, Coach Reed. And I just always think that. And if I could, I want to go back and talk about the coaches. The coaches being inducted, and I knew this was kind of be hard for me, but I do want to just say that I learned so much as a student here at Vidalia High School and from coaching with Coach Craven, Coach Parsons, and Coach Reed. There's 3 men I looked up to so much, and I learned so much from, and I'll always appreciate them. And then Mr. Watkins being in, he was so much helpful. I enjoyed the year I coached football with him, and then he was so much help when he was assistant principal here, always keeping an eye on my baseball players and make sure they stay straight. But I appreciate that. But like I said, I just thank the administration. Community's always been great, supports anything we need, sports boosters. Vidalia Recreation Department, they always appreciate what they did. They provided a field for us until 2002 when we moved out to the new complex, and always did a great job. Always helps with our camps out there, and I think we run a camp for 24 years out there on the site, so that was always real good, and they were always real supportive. And super feeder program. I mean, those guys, you know, by the time they got to us, they knew pretty well how to play and what was expected. But I just always appreciate the recreation department. I always appreciate my coaches. I know I'm getting a little long, but I appreciate all the coaches I had. My high school coaches, Coach Merritt, Coach Reed, and of course all my recreation coaches, and also my coach I had at Root Parker. And I'll always appreciate what they taught me. And but you know, it always gets back to my family. I want to finish with them. My family was always there, and I'm talking about all my family. They were always so supportive, helped me in any way they could, and you know, just allowed me to do this. And like I said, anything I needed, they were there to help me with and support me. Because believe me, I came home pretty rough some nights, and I know they've had to put up with a lot, but I do appreciate what they did for me. And but I guess in closing, I just want to welcome Mr. Mulkey home. He was on my first team back in 1987. He was sophomore and sophomore outfielder, but I appreciate and good to have him home. But it was an honor to coach for 30 years here at Vidalia High School, and I just appreciate the opportunity. And you'll never know what tonight means. And I just want to finish by congratulating Coach Corn and the 2022 team for winning the state championship and bringing the third state championship here, you know, back to Vidalia High School. And another inductee going in tonight, Doug Roper. And I've had the pleasure of coaching Doug for 4 years and helped lead us to the 95, the first state championship here. And I see a lot of those players here, and I really appreciate all the players coming tonight. But once again, just thank you.
Our next inductee is Tyrone Jones. Tyrone Jones was a 1976 graduate of Vidalia High School, where he was voted best all-around by his senior class. While in high school, he lettered 4 years in basketball and track. His freshman year, he became a starter for the Vidalia basketball team after proving his outstanding ability to both score and play defense. His senior year was a very special one for the Indians and for Tyrone individually. The Indians had an undefeated regular season and won the region championship. They won their first round game in state, but were defeated in the quarterfinals. Over his 4-year career at Vidalia, Tyrone helped lead the Indians to a 91-12 record. He averaged 27.3 points his senior year and became the all-time leading scorer in school history, a record he still holds. After his senior year, he was selected to play in the GACA North-South All-Star Game and signed a scholarship to play basketball at Georgia Southern College. Tyrone played 1 year at Georgia Southern before joining the military. After his service in the military, he had a desire to continue playing basketball and signed to play basketball at the University of Alaska Anchorage. Over 3 seasons, he played 80 games and had 45 starts, averaging 7.3 points per game and had a career total of 584 points. He averaged 5.1 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and 1.4 steals. He led the team in steals his sophomore year and was selected as Best Defensive Player in 1985. Tyrone was part of the inaugural ESPN televised game from the Great Alaska Shootout. Tyrone had 17 points and 7 rebounds against the University of Missouri. He helped UAA receive an NCAA tournament invitation in 1986, where UAA reached the second round. After his playing career was over, Tyrone continued to coach at youth, high school, and collegiate levels, giving back to the game he loved so much. For the past few summers, he has returned home to Vidalia to hold a week-long basketball camp for the youth in the area. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming to the stage and to the inaugural Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame class, Tyrone Jones.
Wow. This has been 46 years in the making. I've noticed that everybody talks about the recreation department, and you guys have no idea how many people you saved, that you gave us a place to go be safe. And Phyllis, when your dad told me I had to stop playing for him and go play for Coach Parsons, I cried all summer. I did not want to play high school basketball. I didn't want to leave Coach Smith because I love Ed Smith. I still do. But he told me, say, well, you can't do anything else for me. You need to go see Ralph. Who is Ralph? He said, Ralph Parsons. It sounds like a coon. It don't sound like a... Okay, well, you go see Ralph and you're going to play for him. So I was literally forced to come play. But I've enjoyed it, and as somebody else said, no matter where I go in this country, they ask me where I'm from. My word is Vidalia, Georgia. What do they say? Well, I don't know where that is. I say, good, you won't be there when I get back. But one other thing that John said, he said that he remembered a game between Vidalia and Wheeler County. I got to clarify that they did come to Vidalia one night and beat us by 1. They had a player named Charles Carter, and to win this game, it was the first guy to get to 37 when we played. He came to Vidalia, got 37, I had 35, we lost. 2 weeks later, we went to Alamo, I got 37, he got 35, they lost. So the thing that I'm trying to tell you is back then, you didn't have a night off. You had the Gothers and Lions, you had the Blitches and Claxton. And like they said, we knew we were good when we went into Statesboro one night and beat Statesboro, just like the football team did. And how ironic is it, the team that y'all beat for the state championship, that's where I live right now, Latonia. So, yeah, I don't feel it, but I'm all Vidalia. I bleed maroon and gold. I'm all Vidalia. But I would like to thank my wife, because I'll be remiss if I didn't do this. She was my girlfriend in high school, and we've been together since we were 12. So, thank you. And one more in closing, I want to tell you what kind of crazy college career I had. I went to Georgia Southern 1 year, set out for 7 years, and went back and played college basketball. I had a wife and 3 kids, and competed because of what how I was being able to, how I was taught to play. I knew then how good I was. I had no idea in high school. But when I set out those 7 years, and I went back and competed on a level that was far higher than anything Garden Land Bias and guys like that, and it just was what was instilled in me as a player. And the Vidalia Recreation Department gave me a great start. And in closing, I'd like to thank Sheila and Larry for coming here tonight, my family. I know what it took for you to be here, brother, and I appreciate you, and I love you. And I thank each and every one of you, all the inductees, and God bless Reno Jones and Ralph Parsons.
Our next inductee is Tiffany Lanier. Tiffany Lanier was a 1991 graduate of Vidalia High School. She was known for being a well-rounded student, where she was selected as homecoming queen, prom queen, and received the superlative of most athletic. She got an early start in athletics, playing on 2 GRPA state championship basketball teams coached by Bill James. She also won a national championship with her AAU team in 1994. In high school, Tiffany led her 1 year in cross country and 4 years in basketball. During her 1 year in cross country, she helped lead the team to the region title and an 8th place finish at state. In basketball, Tiffany was a 4-year starter and helped lead the Indians to 3 sub-region titles and 1 region title over her 4 years at Vidalia High School. Tiffany's many honors and accomplishments included setting the school record in points scored with 39 against Telfair County. She was recognized as Coastal Empire All-Star Team and All-Middle Georgia All-Star Team. She was selected for the All-Star Team by the Atlanta Tip-Off Club and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Tiffany also set the Vidalia High School women's basketball career scoring record at 1,777 points. Following her senior season, Tiffany signed a scholarship with Georgia Southern University, where she was a 4-year letter winner and a 3-year starter. At Georgia Southern, she led the nation in steals for 2 consecutive weeks. She helped lead Southern to a regular season conference championship in the 2000-2001 season. She was selected as a second-team All-Southern Conference player, and she set and still holds the career steals record at Georgia Southern University. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming Tiffany Lanier to the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Wow, this is nice. Nervous. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank God for giving me the gift and the talent to play a sport that I will forever love, which is basketball. To the committee, thank you guys for putting this together. For all of the talent athletes that have come through Vidalia, I'm excited for the many more to come. To all of my coaches that have impacted my life, Coach Bill James, Coach Russell Bentley, Coach Jackson, Coach James Lowe, Coach John Sharp, Coach Cissy Anderson, Coach Charles Reed, Coach Rusty Cram, Coach Regina Days Bryan, Coach Lisa Nuxall, Coach LaTanya Samuels, and the greatest coach of all, which is Coach Ennis Lanier. To the fellas at the local parks that gave me an opportunity to play, I truly gained my mental toughness from you guys. Thank you. To all of the young ladies that I played alongside, my teammates, thank you for the sisterhood and all of the many stories that we'll forever have as teammates. Thank you. To the fans, thank you for your support. To my family and my friends, my brother Eric Jones, who I looked up to and idolized, to my oldest sister LaShonda Lanier, who taught me how to be a floor general. She was awesome in her day. To my sister LaToya Lanier, who taught me how to steal the ball in transition. I gained a piece of the game from each individual of my family members, and that's what made me who I was at that time. So thank you. To my Aunt Brenda, who taught me how to be physical in the paint, thank you. To my parents, Marianne and Ennis, who have always been there from the early years in recreation, through AAU, through high school, and even through my collegiate years. Thank you guys for your love and support. I hope I've made you proud. Lastly, I would like to thank my husband, Patrick, Sr., and to my son, you have big shoes to fill, Patrick, Jr. Thank you guys again. This is such a great honor, and I'm humbled. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Sharon McSwain. Sharon was a 1976 graduate of Vidalia High School, where she ran track, played tennis, and basketball in high school. At the time, these were the only athletic teams available to female students. She was a 4-year letter winner in basketball, where she helped lead her teams to 3 playoff appearances, including the first playoff win in school history in 1973. She ended her career as the all-time leader in points scored. Sharon was also a 4-year letter winner in tennis. Her freshman year, she teamed with Cindy Snyder to play girls doubles. They were region champions and advanced to the semifinals of the state tournament. Her sophomore year, she played singles and won a region title and advanced to the finals. After dropping the first set 4-6, she rallied to win the second set 7-6 in a tiebreaker. She then won the third set 6-3 to capture Vidalia's first, and to this day, the only tennis state championship. During her junior and senior years, she won region, never dropping a set. Her junior year, she advanced to the semifinals and lost in a close match to the eventual state champion. Her senior year, she advanced to the state finals to meet the defending state champion, where she lost a hard-fought and very close match. Sharon received a scholarship to play basketball and tennis at Mercer. Her success continued in college, where she helped lead the women's basketball and tennis teams to great success. She graduated in 1980 from Mercer, and in 1999 was selected to the Mercer Athletic Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming Sharon McSwain to the inaugural Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Wow, what an incredible night. I'd like to start by congratulating the other inductees in this class. It's pretty overwhelming to be selected, but then just to listen and to get to see all the great athletes that I have the privilege of joining tonight makes it even more special. And even to think beyond that back to all the other really great players that have played in this system, it's really quite an honor, and I'm excited to see the young kids and ones that will follow behind us. So I congratulate all of you. I'd also like to thank John and the committee. I can only imagine the countless amount of work and hours that went in to put something this meaningful together, and I appreciate everyone that did that. I feel incredibly blessed in my life. I am fortunate enough to have a wonderful family, many that are with me here tonight. Start with my dad, who I am grateful for so many things, but he taught me to always believe that all things were possible. My mom gave me the discipline and the ability to overcome and to stick with things and to figure it out, and I thank my parents for that. I had two brothers who kept me competitive and made me a little sharper every day. My daughter Madeline, who continues to teach me lessons today, and an extended family and wonderful lifetime friendships. I thank you all for that. I also think back, and I am really grateful also to the Recreation Department and for those lessons and the skills that I learned there. And most of all tonight, I am humbled and grateful to be able to represent Vidalia and to be able to say thank you for the incredible support that the school, the coaches, the teachers, the student body, and the entire community gave me, and the belief that it gave me to continue to seek and to find success, and truly was the foundation of, I think, my life. And forever, I will always be grateful to the one and only place I still call home, Vidalia. Thank you all very much.
Tonight's next inductee is Wallace Wally Moses. Wally was a 1926 graduate of Vidalia High School. Not much is known about his high school accomplishments, but his story was a motivating factor in creating the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame. After graduating from Vidalia High School, Wally attended Bruton Parker College, where he played baseball and ran track. After graduating from Bruton Parker College, Wally got a job driving a gasoline delivery truck in Vidalia. He still loved baseball and began playing with various teams in the area. He got his break when a tryout was held in Louisville in 1931. Major League all-time great Ty Cobb, who was living in Augusta, came to the tryout to umpire and look for talent. Cobb was impressed with Wally and got him a contract with the Augusta Wolves of the Palmetto League. He bounced around several minor league teams over the next 3 years, and at the end of the 1934 season, legendary Major League Baseball owner Connie Mack purchased Wally's contract, and he began playing in the majors for the Philadelphia Athletics in the spring of 1935. That season, Wally batted .325 and was named the American League Rookie of the Year by the baseball writers. He only played 85 games because of a broken wrist he suffered as a result of crashing into the outfield wall at Kaminsky Park in Chicago chasing a fly ball. There were no warning tracks in baseball at the time of the accident, but after his accident, a discussion on the need for them started, and they became mandatory in 1949. With his wrist healed, he came back in 1936 and had 202 hits and batted .345. He played in the major leagues for 17 years. After his playing days, he was a coach and batting instructor for 21 years. He coached on winning World Series teams in 1961 and 1962 with the New York Yankees, and in 1968 with the Detroit Tigers. He ended his career with 2,138 hits with a lifetime batting average of .291. He had a career-high 56 stolen bases in 1943. He made the American League All-Star Game in 1937 and 1935. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor and privilege to induct into the inaugural class of the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Wallace Wally Moses. Receiving his award is his nephew and Vidalia native, Rusty Moses.
Don't hold it against me, but John Sharp is a cousin of mine. What's up on the board says it all, except a few things. And I knew Uncle Wallace as the man he was. The baseball was great, but he was a great uncle, I can tell you that. And but he loved Vidalia more than anything. Of course, he was not here except in the off season, but he spent a lot of time here. And when he finally retired in '76, he said he was coming back. And sure enough, in '88, his health started getting bad. And he moved back to Vidalia, and we put him in an assisted living home. And I took care of, my dad and I took care of him and all of his affairs and everything. But he would call me up. He had a voracious appetite. He'd call me up and said, and my wife was a great cook, and he would say, "Tell Charlotte to get the chicken ready, I'm coming over." And but I got to hear more stories. The visits we had together, I got to write his obituary, and I got so many stories. And we're talking a long, long time ago, but he loved baseball. He loved all the players, whether they were opposing or with him. And it was just, he's a wonderful man. He was modest. And, but I'm going to tell you his best story. It's a short one. When he finally got to the big leagues, in which he played 2,012 games, but when he finally got to the big leagues, the first two games he played in, and he was the leadoff batter for the Philadelphia Athletics. The first two games were the Washington Senators, and they lost both of them. But there'd been a lot of hype about Uncle Wallace, and so when the next game, the next day, which was the 19th of April, 1935, I think, was at Yankee Stadium. And so the New York press decided, sports writers decided they would get on him a little bit and see if they could intimidate him. And because there'd been a little bit of hype about him. And so they interviewed him the morning of the game. All the games were day games back then. So they interviewed him, and the writer said, "Well, what do you think about Yankee Stadium?" And he said, "Well, it's just like the ball field in Vidalia. It's just a little bit bigger." And then they said, "Well, what do you think about all these tall buildings?" And they said, "Well, they're just like the buildings in Vidalia, just taller." And so they figured out they weren't getting anywhere with him. And so he was the leadoff batter in that game. Of course, the Athletics batted first because they were the visitors. The first pitch thrown to him in Yankee Stadium, he hit a home run and went right on over the fence. And so as he was running around the bases, the press sat behind the dugout on the home side. So he would circle around third base, and he held his fist up just like that to the press, and he said, "Bring it on." But he was a great and wonderful man. He has a grandson that is a doctor in Washington. This will go to him, of course. He gave me a baseball signed by all the New York Yankees in 1961 after their winning season. He coached Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle, and it's here in the high school. I donated to the high school. And but he was a wonderful man. It's a different age, but I have nothing but great memories of him. Thank y'all very much.
The next inductee of the evening is Coach Ralph Parsons. A man of integrity, a true gentleman, and a first-class coach. All words used to describe Coach Ralph Parsons. If ever there was a man on whom to build the foundation for a school and its athletic program, it was Ralph Parsons. Coach Parsons came to Vidalia to be a teacher and a coach in 1952. He faithfully served Vidalia High School from 1952 to 1996 as a teacher, coach, administrator, and athletic director. Coach Parsons is known for coaching basketball and golf, but he was also the first girls basketball coach. Coach Parsons also coached football for 5 years at Vidalia with a record of 39, 14, and 2 over 5 seasons, making him the 4th all-time winningest coach in school history and 2nd in terms of winning percentage. He won 1 region title and advanced to the state championship, losing to Washington Wilkes in 1966 by a score of 20-13. Coach Parsons helped Vidalia's golf team become one of the best programs in the state. From 1970 to 1996, his teams won 15 region titles. At the state golf tournament, his teams finished 3rd twice, 2nd twice, and won the state championships 5 times. He also had multiple players earn golf scholarships. His greatest passion, though, was basketball. He is the all-time leader in wins for boys basketball at Vidalia High School with 538 wins. His teams won 5 region titles, advancing to the quarterfinals 3 times and once to the state championship, where they lost to Crawford County. He was 5 times Region Coach of the Year and was nominated National Basketball Coach of the Year. Coach Parsons was the recipient of the 1981 Dwight Keith Award, given annually by the Georgia Athletic Coaches Association for lifetime achievement and outstanding contributions. Prior to beginning his coaching career in Vidalia, he was a 3-year regular on the Georgia Southern basketball squad. He scored 983 career points from the guard position, helping Georgia Southern to a 73-14 record. He also pitched for the Georgia Southern baseball team during his college career. Coach Parsons was inducted to the Georgia Southern Athletic Hall of Fame in 1993. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please help me welcome posthumously Coach Ralph Parsons into the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Receiving the Hall of Fame award tonight is Coach Parsons' son, Hal, who also played basketball and golf for his dad.
Paul Claxton, Coach Cravey never spanked me, but Coach Parsons did. John and committee, thank you so much for honoring my dad this way. I wish he was here. When my dad came here in the early 50s, there was no gym. The basketball games were played either outside on a court or in a tobacco warehouse. Look at this facility now. Just amazing how far it's come. My dad came here and was welcomed. He was supported. And he was honored. But he always thought that he was the lucky one to be in this community. To him, every player had worth. He wanted the best from every player, and he tried to get it out of them. Thank you so much for this honor.
Tonight's next inductee is Jerome Powell. Jerome was a 1999 graduate of Vidalia High School. Jerome was a quiet and humble young man, but on the field and on the mat, he was an aggressive warrior. Jerome played football, wrestled, and ran track. A 3-year starter in football, he was on the 97 region championship team that played the undefeated Washington County team, which was considered to be one of the best AA teams in state history, losing only 21-13. Jerome was an all-region defensive lineman. His senior year, he was the primary running back, rushing for over 1,000 yards. Jerome found his greatest success on the wrestling mats. As a freshman, he had a 22-13 record and placed 6th in the state at 152 pounds. As a sophomore, he had a 23-3 record on his way to winning the state championship in the 152-pound category. He was the first state wrestling champion in Vidalia High School history. After earning his initial state title, Jerome never lost another match at the high school level. He was a perfect 32-0 as a junior, winning a second state title, and he finished his senior year with an astonishing record of 44-0, winning his third state title. Jerome's career record was 121-16. He was the area outstanding wrestler in 1997, 1998, and 1999. He was selected as a member of Team Georgia for 3 years to represent our state in the Oklahoma City national competition. He was also a member of the Georgia National Dual Meet team for 2 years that wrestled in Fargo, North Dakota. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming Jerome Powell to the inaugural Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Jerome is currently living in Las Vegas, Nevada, and had some travel complications and could not make it, but said he would be watching us on the live stream. Jerome, congratulations, and we look forward to presenting you this award next time you're in town. Job well done.
Our next inductee is Coach Charles Chunk Reed. You cannot think about Vidalia High School athletics without thinking about Coach Reed. He was instrumental in so much of Vidalia High School's athletic success. From being an assistant football coach on the 1969 state championship football team until his last year as athletic director in 2019 when Vidalia finished fourth in the state AA Directors Cup, an award that recognizes the top athletic schools in Georgia, Coach Reed was a vital part of our school's athletic accomplishments. Coach Reed was a 1962 graduate of Vidalia High School, where he lettered 2 years in football. After graduating from college, he taught a year at Bleckley County before Vidalia Superintendent J.R. Tripp called and asked him if he was ready to come home. He and his new bride, Barbara, quickly moved back to Vidalia. He served as an assistant football coach on the 1969 state championship team and was head baseball coach for 2 years, in one of which his team finished as state runner-up. He coached softball for 16 years, winning region 7 times and finishing state runner-up twice before his 1986 team won the state championship, which was Vidalia High School's first championship in a female sport. During the time Coach Reed served as athletic director, Vidalia's teams won 18 state championships in 7 different sports. Vidalia won the Region 2 AA All-Activity title his last 6 years as AD. At the state level, Vidalia High School finished no lower than 7th in the State AA Directors Cup standings and finished second twice under his leadership. However, Coach Reed found his greatest success on the hardwood courts. He coached girls basketball for 47 years, where his teams won 25 sub-region titles, 11 region titles, and finished as state runner-up in 2010. He retired with a record of 881 and 382. The 881 wins are the most by a single coach in girls basketball in state history. Over his coaching career, he was selected as the head coach of the GACA State Softball and Basketball All-Star Games. He was selected as the Georgia Athletic Director of the Year in 2003 and served for 8 years on the GACA Hall of Fame Selection Committee. In 2018, Coach Reed was inducted into the Georgia Coaches Association Hall of Fame. It is now both an honor and a pleasure to be able to welcome posthumously Coach Charles Chunk Reed into the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Receiving the Hall of Fame award tonight is Coach Reed's family.
Wasn't prepared to talk. It's a little bit harder than I thought it would be. Ivy suggested that I tap all the way across the stage, but I don't think anybody wants to relive that. First, I want to thank John and the committee. John has been such a supporter of Daddy all these years, and Coach Daly, everybody, they put up with all the tapping. I mean, he'd be up here right now probably doing this. They've been such great supporters of him through his career here. The athletes that are honored, I don't know anybody paid attention, but there's a lot of basketball players, girls basketball players that are honored here tonight, and I think that says a lot about him. It also, he's been honored with several awards around the state and the region, whatever. This would be the most important to him. Everybody that knew him, you know, he bled maroon and gold. He was Vidalia through and through. He was a great coach. He was also a great daddy. Somebody mentioned they hit the lottery. Ivy and I most definitely hit the lottery in that category as well. Of course, it's been overshadowed since those two came along. But I just want to thank everybody. Thank you all so much. And I can't not thank Sissy Anderson. She was with him coaching for, where's Sissy? She's trying to hide in the back. She was with him for the majority of those wins. So there's no way that she cannot be credited for part of this award. So thank y'all.
Tonight's next inductee is Doug Roper. A 1995 graduate of Vidalia High School, Doug was very involved in all athletics during his childhood. But when he got to high school, he began to focus on baseball. A 4-year starter for the baseball team, Doug was in the pitching rotation and was a middle infielder. During his freshman season, the Indians made it to the quarterfinals, losing to Cook County in Game 3. During his junior year, they again lost to Cook County in the quarterfinals in Game 3. The 1995 season would be a special season for the Indians. Due to an injury in the pitching staff, Doug would pitch complete game wins in Game 1 and 3 of the quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship to give Vidalia their first ever state championship in baseball. His honors after the 1995 season included the 1995 Savannah Morning News Player of the Year, the 95 Macon Telegraph Player of the Year, the 1995 AA Player of the Year. He was named a member of the 1995 GACA All-Star Game and a member of Team Georgia, which competed in Oklahoma City. He was also a member of the 1995 Junior Olympic South Team, which competed in Colorado Springs. Doug is listed in the top 10 in several categories in GHSA baseball history, including hits in a season, where he is tied for 7th with 65 hits. Triples in a season, 3rd place with 9 triples. Triples in a career, tied for 7th with 11. Wins in a season, tied for 2nd with 16 wins. Innings pitched in a season, 8th place with 107 innings pitched. He is also in 10th place with a 1.25 career ERA. During the 1995 season, Doug signed a baseball scholarship with Clemson University. At Clemson, he was a middle infielder and pitcher for the Tigers. Over his 4 years at Clemson, he was a vital player as a middle infielder and pitcher that helped his team reach not only the regional college playoff all 4 years, they also reached the super regional once and advanced to the College World Series once. He was selected in the 26th round of the Major League Baseball draft by the Toronto Blue Jays. He was advancing up the minor league system until a major injury contributed to him having to give up his major league dream. Doug has coached several teams at the recreation and high school level and now serves as the mayor of Vidalia. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help welcome to the stage and into the inaugural class of the Vidalia Athletic Hall of Fame, Doug Roper.
Well, probably the last time that I've had to keep my emotions in check to the same level since learning about this recognition was about 10 years ago when my wife and I brought Cutter home from the hospital. We'd been home for 3 days, and it was the night before I was going back to work for the first time, and we're all three in the living room. He's screaming, Marley's crying, and I'm crying, and we're thinking we're going to have to give this kid up for adoption because I'm not sure we can do this. But when I got the call from Coach Sharp, to say it was a humbling experience would be a massive understatement. I want to thank him and the selection committee for this honor. I can't imagine, as others have said, the amount of time and effort and energy that went into selecting such an incredible group of athletes. If it's not special enough to go into the Hall of Fame and be part of an inaugural class, I can't think of anything more honoring than to go into a guy that played such an integral part in teaching me and helping me cut my teeth in a game of baseball, and that's Coach Greg James. The amount of young men that he touched over the years probably is hard to measure the impact that he's had on creating, men of character that have become better husbands, fathers, and workforce guys like he has. So to go in with you, Coach, is just incredible. My teammates, we'll try not to look out in that middle row right now. I did this at my wedding. You guys are like my brothers. Baseball is not an individual sport. I would not be up here without you guys. I look out there and I see, Rhett and Coop and Bart. Sean's here, Kyle's here. What an incredible group of guys. We were reminiscing via text messages not too long ago, and in a 5-year span, we talked a lot about the recreation department. From 1988 to 92, we had a record of 82 wins and 10 losses. This group won a state championship at every single level all the way up, and it culminated with our driving desire to win a state championship at the high school level when we were able to accomplish that. And we were one win shy of 100 wins in our 4 years in high school, and those numbers are just incredible. So I am telling you right now, I would not be here without you guys, but I'd also be a little remiss if I didn't say just how special of a relationship I have with Kyle Aldridge, the two of us. Man, did we work our tail off. The amount of ground balls and BP lessons, and just, I've told people before, I could close my eyes and you could blindfold me and I could tell you where he was on the field. I knew how he would respond. He would know how to respond, and I would not be the ball player I was without him. And buddy, I love you and appreciate everything you did to help mold me as a ball player. My parents, my sisters, everybody has talked about hitting the jackpot, and I definitely hit the jackpot. And I know my sisters probably had times growing up where they were tired of being drugged from one field to the next, but they were always supportive. My mom likes to tell this story of when I was just a youngster, well, heck, probably about the height I am right now, because I never did hit that growth spurt. But we were in the kitchen one day, and I'm tugging on her pants, and she looks down at me and says, I'm going to have to put a book on your head to keep you from growing up so fast. And I look up at her and I said, Mom, please let me grow up and play baseball. And he did. But I want to share with you, I tell this story, some of you have already heard this, but it's the greatest lesson that I ever learned, and it was from my dad. And I had access to Sally Meadows' gym growing up because Mom taught in the system for so long. And we were in there one night working, and I'd probably fielded a couple of 100 ground balls in a row without missing one. And then the inevitable happens, I miss a ball, and to me it's no big deal. And I'm going over to get the ball up, and when I turn around to throw it down the length of the field, here comes Dad walking toward me, and I'm thinking, what's he doing? And he gets all the way down there to me, and he says, what happened on that ground ball? And at that age, 12, I said, the first thing popped in my mind, I said, it took a bad hop. And he says, no, that ball did not take a bad hop. That was a missed opportunity. And that's all he said. And he started walking the length of the gym, and I thought to myself, that dude has lost his mind. But how that impacted my life going forward was immeasurable. In my sophomore year at Clemson, I broke my leg in my very first at-bat of the season. And it was a time to reflect and think, was that a bad hop or was that an opportunity? But that was an opportunity for me to sit still in that 1 year, and I learned more in that year by watching my teammates than I did in all my other years combined. It taught me how to be still. In pro ball, June 4th of 2000, we're playing against the Baltimore Orioles. I was a 26th round draft pick in '99. My teammate was a first rounder. We're playing against them. I come up, bases juiced, get a base hit, knock in 2 runs, and I'm thinking, this is fantastic. We'll go to dinner tonight. He's the millionaire. He can pick up the tab. Guy behind me hits the ball to the shortstop. I'm in no man's land. I'm getting ready to break up the double play. Ball gets past him into left field. Next thing you know, I try to stay on my feet to take third. My right foot hits the bag and my leg explodes. My right foot ankle explodes. Last time I ever put on a uniform. Was that a bad hop or was that an opportunity? For me, it was an opportunity to come out of baseball and come back home to a place that I love, go to work at the Paul Anderson Youth Home. And even though I was raised in the church and raised with an incredible family, that's where I learned what it meant to have a personal relationship with Jesus. And lastly, September 16th of 2010, my wife and I experienced a personal loss that was extremely difficult for us. But that so I had another chance to reflect. Was that a bad hop or was that an opportunity? It was an opportunity to understand that I'm in control of nothing in this life, that God's in full control of everything that happens. So I can't even really articulate and put into words what this means to me. I've told people before, out of all of my experiences, if I could go back and recreate anything, whether it be high school, college, or professional baseball, I'd come back and put on a uniform that said Vidalia any day of the week. Particularly that 1995 season, it was that special. And I'll end by saying this, my 2 boys are here, and, you know, although you never had a chance to see your dad compete, what I want you to do is dream big. You know, don't ever let anyone tell you there's nothing you can't do. There were people that told me in my entire life I'd be too small to play this game, and I guess they were wrong. There's a pretty good guy that coaches football about 4 hours up the road. If you go about an hour and a half past Athens, you'll find him in Clemson. His name's Dabo Sweeney. One of his favorite quotes that I'll leave you with is this: "It's only unthinkable if you don't think it." Thank you. God bless.
Tonight's next inductee is Fred Stokes. Fred Stokes was a 1982 graduate of Vidalia High School. He lettered 4 years in track and basketball. But it wasn't until his senior year that Fred decided to play football, the sport in which he received his greatest accolades, and that is a great story in itself. In track, Fred placed in region in the 110 hurdles and the high jump. In basketball, he was a 3-year starter and was a member of the 1982 team that lost in the state finals to Crawford County, who was led by future NBA star Kenny Walker. Fred was recognized on the All-Coastal Empire basketball team after his senior year. Fred's 1 year of high school football was very successful. He helped lead his team to the region title and to the quarterfinals in the state. He made the All-Coastal Empire football team and received a scholarship to Georgia Southern to play for the legendary Coach Irk Russell in Coach Russell's first recruiting class. Fred was a 4-year letterman at Georgia Southern. He started out at tight end and then moved to the defensive line, but found a home when he moved to offensive tackle. Fred helped lead the Eagles to a national championship in 1985 and 1986 as a starting tackle. He was chosen as first-team All-American after his senior year and was selected to the Georgia Southern Athletic Hall of Fame in 1993. And in the fall of this year, he was selected to the GSU 40th anniversary team, where he received the most votes of recognition among offensive linemen. Fred was a 12th-round draft pick of the Los Angeles Rams, who converted him to a defensive lineman. He played 10 seasons in the NFL with the Rams, Redskins, and Saints, and was a starter in Super Bowl 25 with the Washington Redskins. He had 6 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble in the Redskins' 37-24 victory over the Buffalo Bills. He ended his career with 38 sacks. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please help welcome to the stage and to the inaugural class of the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Fred Stokes.
Coach James, I'm going to raise this on you. It's like in Vegas, you play yours and they raise your one. Guys, this is truly, truly an honor. You know, as I sat there and listened to and looked at all the honorees and the nominees and the guys that are in this class and the young ladies that are in this class, I looked at all the stats and I thought, man, what have I done? You know, what did I do? Because, see, Doug just talked about it. I did nothing. I was born in Vidalia, Georgia, to a 15-year-old girl. That's the one who's shouting out there, my mother. Thank you, Mother, for being here. I've got my sister, Lynn. See, she's got it. Thank you, Mama. I've got my sister, Lynn, here. My sister, Lynette, couldn't make it because she has to work tonight. I've got my Uncle Alton here. And other family members that couldn't be here. I've got my wife, Regina, here. And since my mother stood up, honey, can you stand up? My 3 boys, Lance, Landon, and Luke, they couldn't be here. And I'm so, this is tough, just because, you know, in the 3 areas, high school, college, and the pros, you know, this is the 2nd Hall of Fame that I received. I was inducted to the College Hall of Fame at Georgia Southern, and I had to do it by video, but I don't remember the ceremony. I don't remember the guys that was in that class. All I know is they called me and said, Fred, you've been inducted in the Georgia Southern Hall of Fame. And although it was exciting, I was in NFL at the time, and I was like, okay, thank you so much. I'll record a video and send it to you, but I'm in the National Football League. And I didn't do enough in terms of garnering the Hall of Fame in the NFL, but I have a Super Bowl ring that can help kind of diminish that pain. But 2 out of 3 is not bad. And I'm going to tell you something, Vidalia. John Sharp and the committee that did this, you guys are amazing. And you've heard it from the different ones that have been on this stage. And the way you've done this, with the class and the level of professionalism, and to make us feel honored and welcome, I do feel that not just necessarily the stats, but just to be a part of this group and be a part of Vidalia. I travel all over the country as a professional speaker, and God has blessed me so wonderfully. And as I said, like Doug was saying, what have I done? The stats are great. The accomplishments are great. But God has gifted me with something that I couldn't buy and I couldn't pay for. When I was at Vidalia, I remember Coach Cravey walking into his office after I played basketball and ran track, and I was in the band. And I tell people the only reason I played football was something very important, and I had my act together and I had my priorities together. And so I said, I'm going to play football because I wanted to get another letter on my jacket. It wasn't about college. It wasn't about the pros. It was about something as simple as getting another bar on my Letterman's jacket. And God had a plan for me to be in the Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl ring. Why? Because that was a door opener. That was a door of an opportunity. And Doug, you talk about those opportunities. That was an opportunity for me to travel all over the world, all over the country. And whenever I tell people where I'm from, I say I'm from Vidalia. And depending on where I am, I'm either from Vidalia or Vidalia. But I always tell them it's the sweet onion capital of the world, and most people know that. So guys, I'm truly honored for this, and I'll share this too as well. When I played here at Vidalia, and I walked in Coach Craven's office, and I said, Coach, I want to play football. And Coach Craven looked at me and he said, son, what took you so long? Because see, I didn't realize how gifted I was. Somebody made that statement earlier about, I think it was Tyrone that said he didn't know how good he was. I remember they're talking about Tyrone Jones and the skills that he had. And sometimes, guys, we don't know until we look back in the good old days. Why can't we appreciate the nowadays and be thankful for these days now? Because there's no such thing as the good old days. It's each day that you have, that you live, and you take advantage of it. And Coach Craven told me, he said, son, I've been waiting on you. And here's what I need you to do. I need you to run a mile every day after practice, to show your teammates and the coaches that you're serious. Because see, the 3 weeks that we've been practicing in the hot sun, and in those days, they practice hard. Nowadays, football, I won't even talk about that, but I don't know what they're doing. But it's keeping the kids safe. But he said, son, you got to run a mile every day after practice for 3 weeks. And I sat in that office, and without even realizing the magnitude of what was going on, I said, okay, Coach, I'll do it. And I think I ran for like 7 days. And the first game we played in, I forget the school we played against, I had an interception, I had a touchdown, I was the kicker on the football team, and I got player of the week, and I thought, man, this is easy. And most of my career in sports was easy until I got to the pros. And it was different. But what set the tone for me was being raised here in Vidalia and having the support system that I had, the school teachers that I had, the coaches that I had, and being in this environment. That's why when I retired after 10 years, I moved back to Vidalia, because I wanted to do what had been done to me. You see, guys, this community has built us. Everybody that's walked on this stage, from Mr. Brantley all the way to Ben Up when he steps up, this community built us. And just remember, as long as you're living in this Vidalia community, you're helping to build other Hall of Famers. Guys, God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Tonight's next inductee is Ben Utt. A 1977 graduate of Vidalia High School, Ben was selected as Mr. VHS his senior year. While in high school, he played basketball, tennis, and ran track, but he found his greatest success on the football field. Ben lettered 4 years in football and enjoyed a very successful senior year as he captained the 1976 team, helping lead them to a region title and an appearance in the semifinals, where they lost to the eventual state champion, Turner County. He was selected as an all-star tight end by the Atlanta Journal and was also selected to play in the GACA North-South All-Star Game. Ben then signed a scholarship to play football at the Georgia Institute of Technology. Ben was a 4-year letterman at Georgia Tech. He was moved to offensive line, where he excelled for the Yellow Jackets. He was part of the offensive line in 1978 that blocked for Eddie Lee Ivory, who set an NCAA single-game rushing record of 365 yards and a 42-21 win over the Air Force. In 1979, he played in the Peach Bowl and was selected as a team captain in 1980. At the end of his senior year, he was selected to play in the 1980 Blue-Gray All-Star football game. In 1981, Ben signed to play professional football with the Dallas Cowboys. In 1982, he signed with the Baltimore Colts, where over the next 8 seasons, he would start 110 games on the offensive line for the Colts and would be part of the team's move to Indianapolis. Ben finished his career in 1990 with the Atlanta Falcons. Among Ben's professional awards is the prestigious 1987 Ed Block Courage Award. The award is presented to one player on all 32 NFL teams who best exemplifies a commitment to sportsmanship and courage and serves as an inspiration in the locker room and the community. The recipients of the honor symbolize professionalism, strength, and dedication. Ben was also voted a top 10 offensive guard of all time in the Indianapolis Colts history. He was honorable mention for the best offensive guard of all time in Colts history and a finalist for the position of executive director of the National Football League's Player Association in 2009. In 2013, Ben was a recipient of the NFL Players Association Legends Award for post-football career success and leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me welcome to the stage and into the inaugural class of the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Ben Utt.
Wow, thank you. I'm honored. I'm humbled too, and actually humbled to be up here in front of guys that used to inspire me, like Tommy Sasser and the guys we saw out there on the 1969 championship team. This isn't because I might get emotional. This is because I got CTE. That's real. Help me with the notes a little bit. Actually, the last play of my last game with the Vidalia Indians playing for Coach Buck Cravey, I ran 60 yards for a touchdown. And until right now, I forgot, it was a playoff game that we lost. Until right now, I forgot who we were playing against, where we were, even what the score was. What I remember is that it was the end of the game. We're on defense. I'm playing defensive end right beside Trent Thompson, my longtime buddy, who's playing defensive tackle. Trent causes a fumble. The other defensive end, James Willie Buffalo Lamb, picks it up, tosses it to me, and I run 60 yards for a touchdown. Now, I share this with you, too, because all the success I've had in my life, and I think every one of these other recipients here, too, the only reason we've had the success is because of the teamwork, the love and support of a lot of other people. So I got people I've got to say thank you to. Teachers, man, really appreciate the patience. You don't get paid enough. The doctors and trainers that have kept me together, especially a doctor in Savannah who, I wish I could remember his name, fixed my leg after I broke it in the 9th grade out there on the practice field. From what I remember, he worked miracles just putting that thing back together. And he also told my mother and dad, never, ever let me play football again. So I guess thank you, doctor, and thank you, mom and dad, for not listening to that man, right? All the teammates, man. I mentioned Trent Thompson, but David Harmon, he and I were co-captains together our senior year. Mark Estroff, Harrison Smith. Harrison and I played in the Georgia North-South All-Star game together. And Johnny Taylor. I shared this with John Sharp earlier. If y'all remember Johnny Taylor, I've had the opportunity to block for 3 of the greatest running backs in history, football history. Eric Dickerson on the Colts, Hall of Famer. Italy Ivory on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, College Hall of Famer. And Johnny Taylor of the Vidalia Indians. I have a really hard time deciding who's 1, 2, and 3 because Johnny could roll. He could play. Got to thank all the coaches, starting with Pepper Rogers and Bill Curry. I'm actually a better man because I played for those guys. Bill and Greg James, my first football coaches ever, Red Team City League, right? It's also where I met Trent because my mom washed my white football pants with my red football jersey, and my pants wound up being pink, and the next day at practice, Trent sang that Pink Panther theme song all day long, so I liked him right away. Ben Hagan, who coached me in football and track. Coach Reno Jones, greatest sports name ever, right? Reno coached me in football. He also taught me driver's ed, where he gave me a D. And I remember going to coach and emphasizing, Coach, you gave me a D. And Reno said, that's right. If I wasn't your coach, you'd have an F. So, of course, legendary coaches Ralph Parson, Chunk Reed, and Buck Cravey. I'm fortunate I get to see young John Cravey in Atlanta, some Georgia Tech games once in a while. Man, I love your dad. To me, he was like John Wayne. He was also the first man, other than my father, who said, I believe in you, and I'm going to expect a lot out of you. I mentioned the last game. My very first game ever playing for Coach Cravey was when he came back to Vidalia, opening game, my junior year in Lions, against the Lions Bulldogs. We hadn't beat them in a long time, and we beat them. I don't know if you all remember the chant, but Buck's back, Buck's back. I'm so fortunate that Buck came back when he did, because without Buck, I would have met Bill Curry and Pepper Rogers, which gave me the opportunity to go play in the NFL. Without Vidalia and Coach Buck Cravey, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to Georgia Tech and graduate from there too, where I also met my wife 44 years ago. Yeah. And also had a career because of my contacts at Georgia Tech, 26 years at Invesco. So, without Buck Cravey, there would be no Ben Utt. I am really proud to be one of Buck's boys. I'm thankful that he's been such an important part of my life. So friends to thank, all the Estroffs, the Threckles, the Parkers, Beddingfields, Earl and Betsy Norton, who you went to every Georgia Tech home game too. God bless you for doing that. All my boys and girls, thanks for the friendship and the fun. And then most important, family. And that includes Trent Thompson and Bill Strickland. Those two guys I met when I was young, and they've always been there for me through my whole life. I also have a really special place in my heart for Hughes Threckle. And Sharon and Allie Threckle are back here. Raise your hands. Y'all stand up, say hello. I love Hughes. When my folks moved away from Vidalia, Hughes took me in, always gave me a place to be, and I really appreciate y'all sharing him with me all those years. And of course, my immediate family, my mom and my dad, Mike and Charlene, I had great parents, and they made raising kids and making a family look really easy, which you know is not. My sister Kim, who's here, right over here, Kim, stand up. Her son Max is here too. Max just had a little baby girl, Cheryl Ann. My brother Craig, who's over here also, and my son Garrett, who's over here. I love you, Garrett. Garrett keeps me honest, keeps me in the weight room. I'm really, really proud of you, man. My daughter Olivia, who played volleyball at Tulane University and just graduated from Wharton. Love you, kiddo. So proud of you. And most importantly, the love of my life, my wife Liz. For 40 years, she is beautiful. Still has a hell of a sense of humor, which you have to have if you're going to be around me. She is my kiss on the forehead, my kick in the ass. I thank God every day for you. And look, thank you for this recognition. I'm really, really honored. I love this place. Thank you, Vidalia.
Our next inductee tonight is Coach Dennis Watkins. Dennis Watkins came to Vidalia in 1982 to be an assistant principal at J.R. Tripp Middle School after coaching in Florida and Georgia. For a short time, he served as defensive coordinator for the Indian football team and helped them win a region championship. It was his efforts with the Vidalia High School golf team where he enjoyed his greatest success. In 1996, Coach Watkins began helping Coach Parsons with the team. In 1997, Coach Parsons completely retired, and Coach Watkins took over the reins of the program. He coached from 1997 to 2018, coaching a total of 22 seasons. Over that time, his team won 13 region titles. At the state level, his teams finished fourth twice, state runner-up 4 times, and they won the GHSA AA title 4 times in 1998, 1999, 2000, and 2004 seasons. Coach Watkins was recognized as the GHSA Golf Coach of the Year 4 times and was recognized as Region Coach of the Year 11 times. One of his greatest contributions to the VHS golf program was the start of the Indian Invitational Golf Tournament. The 2-day event organized by Coach Watkins was played on Vidalia's 2 courses and attracted the top 64 teams across 6 states. The event was a tremendous economic boost to the local economy and hosted more than 10 players who would go on to play on the PGA Tour. Unfortunately, the tournament ended when Vidalia lost the local golf courses. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me in welcoming into the inaugural class of the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Coach Dennis Watkins.
Fred, I'm going to pull this down if it's all right with you. I have to say, wow, just like I've heard everybody else come up and say. Of course, my wife kind of sets me on edge. She whispers, I just noticed you're the only one that's not from Vidalia. So thanks a lot. That's great. I can't tell you what an honor it is to be here, and I thank God Almighty and Jesus Christ for the opportunity to work in this system. It's the best system there is. And John, to you, you don't know now I'm out at STC, and my office is directly next to John's, so we're right there all the time. And I cannot begin to tell you the hours that I hear that he's worked on this thing for a while. It's unbelievable. I know this. He's going to think he retired next week when this one's over. Tommy, for you too. You're the best basketball coach in the state of Georgia, bar any level. It doesn't matter. That's the truth. I'd like to thank the faculty members and the wonderful people that I've been able to work with all the years at Vidalia. It's incredible. I had the blessing to work in another school system in Georgia and 2 in the state of Florida before I came here. And I can tell you from being around, not just here, there's no way to describe what a great system this is, what great leadership. It's done right by a lot of people. And I thank you all so much, and I feel very undeserving of what this means. Thank you.
Our final inductee of the night is Darrell Wise. A 1982 graduate of Vidalia High School, Darrell was a 3-year letterman in football and basketball and a 4-year letter winner in track. Darrell was a 3-year starter for Coach Parsons on the basketball team, and during his junior year, the Indians advanced to the quarterfinals. During his senior year, the Indians won region and advanced to the state championship in Macon, losing to Crawford County, who was led by future Kentucky and NBA great Kenny Walker. The Indians finished 27-3 that year. In track, Darrell set records in the 400-meter run and the 300-meter hurdles. He was also a member of the record-setting 4x400-meter relay team. His only loss in the 400-meter during his junior and senior season were in the state championship to 1984 gold medalist Antonio McKay. Darrell still owns the school 400-meter record at 48 seconds flat. It is Vidalia's second oldest track record. In football, Darrell was a 3-year starter at quarterback, leading his teams to a 31-5 record over 3 years with 2 region titles and 2 quarterfinal appearances. His senior year, he was named first-team All-State by the AJC and was also selected to play in the GACA North-South All-Star Game. Darrell signed to play football at Georgia Tech, where he lettered 3 years, initially playing as a defensive back before becoming a starting wide receiver. He finished his career with 14 receptions for 380 yards, 5 rushes for 23 yards, and 1 pass completion for 34 yards. He also had 1 interception on defense. Darrell also lettered 1 year in track. In 1984, he teamed with former high school rival Antonio McKay to qualify for the NCAA Regionals in the 4x400-meter relay. Darrell is unable to be with us tonight due to health issues, but we are praying for a quick recovery, and we plan on Darrell joining us at a later date. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome into the Vidalia High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Darrell Wise.
You know, when you're invited to offer closing remarks for a ceremony like this, it comes with the good and the bad. The good is it's been a long day, and a lot of times you're the speaker that most everyone is looking forward to the most because it's almost over. And the bad is that you have the dubious honor of trying to put the final touches on something that's impossible to do. A lot of success in this room, and many of you have gone on to have success in your professional lives as well. But none of you have tried to fill the shoes of John Sharp. So I don't want to be outdone by anybody. Coach Sharp, one more time, we appreciate everything that you have done to make tonight possible. John has made my job easy and hard at the same time. As a principal, as an alum, as a former player, and as an Indian fan, I'm honored and humbled to be able to close tonight's ceremony. And I like to think that my class and some of my classmates are here tonight had an opportunity to come through what I would call the golden age. I had the opportunity, most of these coaches, with the exception of Coach Watkins, was in this building when I was a senior in high school and had the opportunity to be influenced by some great people. and I will forever be grateful for that. As a senior, I was a 130-pound defensive back who wore number 68, and probably the only high school coach I could ever have played for was Coach Cravey. And as Coach James alluded to, I was on his first team, and as a senior, I batted ninth and hit 1 home run. So I had no doubt in my mind I would never be up for consideration for this until Paul spoke. I too have been paddled by Coach Cravey, so there's a chance. Paul, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Growing up in this community, you learn at an early age about the history and tradition of athletics. At Vidalia High School is second to none, and so fortunate to grow up here and to play here and to be inspired by some of you. So Fred, don't ever wonder what you've done. It inspires even a 130-pound defensive back to play. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to push this effort forward. One of the things that we're doing every day in our halls, I will tell you, share a quick story. We called our freshmen in September, and we talked to them about how fortunate they were to be in this community, how fortunate they were to have an opportunity to walk the halls of Vidalia High School. We also expressed the importance and the responsibility they had to continue the success and the traditions of those who came before them. We've all heard stories and we've all heard debates and friendly arguments about who the best of the best were. The best of the best are sitting in this room here tonight. Congratulations to each one of you. Thank you for being here, and everyone have a safe trip home.